Hello and welcome to the Round 9 review 2023 after the Western Bulldogs beat the Blues 11 goals 13-79 to 8 goals 11-59 at Marvel Stadium on a Saturday night. And here we are again talking about how disappointed we are with the group, with the performance, left wondering what the fuck's going on yet again, and forced to try and muster up some form of humor to disguise how painful and how disappointing and how wasteful our football team is. It was such an interesting week. I think a lot of the fans looked inward this week. I know I did. I looked inward. I realized that we had, completed 8 rounds early in the week, and a lot of us were trying to just write it all off and make a final judgment on what 2023 would be. And so I found myself stepping back, found myself realizing a bit about what it takes to succeed, remembering things that have happened in my life and people that I've studied and sportsmen and coaches and all of this, and tried to find something. I was lost last week. Yeah, I had lost not just last week, probably for a few weeks. I had lost a little bit of understanding as to why I do this and why any of us do anything, especially when we're talking about supporting a team and supporting a club, which in essence is madness because you cannot control the end result on the field. You can't. Newsflash. We have no bearing on the result on the field. Maybe we can help a little bit with our energy in the crowd and give the players a little bit more extra in those tough moments, but ultimately totally out of our control. So to focus on something so out of your control and get so mad at it, yeah, it's not going to lead you anywhere, is it? So there's that. There's also an understanding that it's all one massive, infinite story. It doesn't end. It doesn't end. When are we determined to be successful? And whenever that moment is that it? You're successful. So there was a bit of a reminder that the story continues and it goes on. So last night, I was pretty confident. I thought the Dogs were a pretty good matchup for us going into the game, confident that they weren't as serious a team as what the Lions were the week before. I think the Lions have shown their credentials as a top 4 side, as a premiership contender over the last few years. So drew a bit more confidence from that. We've played pretty well against the Dogs over the last few years. Drew some confidence from that. And then off to Marvel Stadium I went. And then we got served with one of the poorer first halves I've seen this group play probably all year and for a while. Yeah, really deflating stuff. And I think most Carlton fans will say, oh, you'll know a lot about what's going to happen in the game from the first, 5 or 10 minutes. And there were a few moments early in the game, 4 minutes in, we switched the ball from our back line. Blake Acres, relatively straightforward kick to Sam Doherty, completely missed kicks, turnover, goal. I'm like, okay, all right, we'll just get that one out of the way and then we'll just continue. And then moments later, ball comes back into our defensive 50. Jacob Wiedering, one of our best defenders in many years, just completely misreads the football. A moment which he has dominated and which he has succeeded in accomplishing, winning that contest so many times, completely misreads it. Norton marks, goal. And then part of me didn't want to accept that it's going to be another one of those nights. Part of me didn't want to accept that, but the other part of me just knew this is what we were in for. And yeah, I guess I was ready for a loss very early in the game. I didn't give up, but I was. The signs were there. The signs were. It was all there. It was all outlined in the first quarter of what it was going to be. The symbols of lack of concentration, lack of focus, not staying present, fear of failing or fear of miskicking, fear of turning it over, or, dare I say it, fear of winning, fear of evolving. It looked ominous early. Another moment in that first quarter. We switched the ball pretty well. They switched it pretty quickly. They were thinking quickly. They made a decision quickly with conviction. Swings all the way to the right side. Gets to McGovern on the wing. One of our better kicks. He runs down the wing. Miss kick. Out of bounds. Deflating. Harry Mackay marks the ball. What was it? 30 to 40 meters out. Take a pick of how far out it was. I don't know. Not directly in front, but not on a 45-degree angle. And you felt it. You felt it in the crowd. The crowd, because he was setting up to snap it. And I had come accustomed to the understanding that from that position, it's a drop punt. If it's a little bit more of an angle, that's where it suits him to snap the ball around the body. And he obviously sets up to snap the ball around his body. The crowd, you could feel the jitters in the crowd. And it clearly must have gotten to him. He wasn't able to shut it out. He wasn't able to focus himself in the moment. Misses. The crowd told the story. We had 54% of the ball in our forward half for the majority of that first quarter. And we had 3 behinds to show for it. That was the story. We played very poorly in the first, and we were only down by 11 points it was. So as much as I had seen the signs of, this is what it looks like when we lose, we were only down by 3. And I thought, well, the Dogs, I wasn't impressed with them by any means. So we get to the second quarter. Crowd was silent. Very few times have I seen a crowd so deflated like that. A Carlton crowd that has shown up in big numbers. It was deafening. It was, I thought it was a statement. And if anybody blames the crowd for that, I find that interesting. It's after what they dish up week after week, year after year. Now you want to rely on us to spark you? Interesting. We had a few more moments with indecision or poor execution. Akers kicks the ball to the wrong side of Jesse Motlop, on the inside of him when he had all the space to his left. Turnover. Then we started showing signs of better ball use while streaming into the forward half. Smart kick to Jesse Motlop, who bellied the ball, missed everything. Next play, Walsh. Smart kick to Owies, goal. There it was. Our forward line is so crowded when we are about 65 to 70 metres out. We're all on the same side. There's no spacing. It's just painful. And then Patrick Cripps has a shot on goal. Bellies the ball. Oh, mate. And at that point, it was so deflating that I had lost the joy. I'd lost the joy. I was looking around. I spoke last week about a feeling of a death in football terms with the team and my joy last week, and felt it again last night. We showed a bit in the third quarter. Definitely came out after halftime. Can we talk about halftime for a minute? Got to read the room. I feel like we need to read the room. I know that there are employees that do their job. Lukey Power did a halftime interview for like on the ground, and it was broadcast to everyone at the ground, and he mentioned that we had done a lot right, and again, done a lot right, referring to the contested ball numbers and our KPIs just, couldn't convert. Even though it was true, it was true, it frustrated me. All noises became more frustrating. I don't know her name. She does the emceeing of the game. She does a really good job. Really good job. She actually did her job very well last night. Tried to get the crowd up and about. Really tried to do something with the energy of the place. But it was so frustrating because it was so annoying, and the loud noises were more sensitive for my ears. And I had just lost all enjoyment from being there. And that's weird because, when I came home, the big thing was I can't miss football games anymore. This is where I want to be. This is my happy place. Going to the footy. This is actually my happy place. And it's diminishing. And that's probably what happens when you just continue to go and do something over and over again. Maybe you take it for granted at times and the novelty wears off. I don't know. I just thought at this point in where the group have come from, I thought at this point we'd be a lot better than what we are. So there's just every week there's another realization that we're not where we want to be, and that just creates this vortex of soullessness. So the third quarter comes and we start playing pretty well, and it starts to change. And I said this on the fan cams last night. I'm not generally a negative or a morbid person, but as we were coming back, I couldn't find the real joy to get out of my seat, scream, and just it was so far removed, the enjoyment of the game for me last night, that once we started coming back, I almost didn't enjoy it. Of course I enjoyed it, but I almost didn't. We hit the lead, and obviously I got excited, but not in the same way that I normally would, because I felt like, this is going to be another one of those get out of jail performances. And I was almost battling with my own head during the game of how I want to feel about this game. Then I snapped out of it and I'm like, we're going to win this game. Come on. They figured it out. This is the turning point. We're going to carry this form into the end of this game. Then we're going to carry this form into Collingwood next week. And on the back of that, everyone's going to think we haven't played well, which we haven't. And on the back of this good second half, you start games the way you finish games. We're going to beat Collingwood. This is what goes through my head. And then the last 7 or 8 minutes come around. It was a borderline capitulation once again. And it's just that sinking feeling once again. And here we are talking about pretty much the same thing once again. Execution, poor decision making. Is it the game plan? Is it the players? just left asking more questions and answers. A group that have not evolved. A leadership group that don't really lead, don't set the tone. Maybe they set the tone in the change room and during the week. I don't know. I would assume they do, because they're paid to do it, and they're also very good at what they do, I think. But come to game day, and it's just completely different. We made quite a few changes. Doherty in the middle, Doherty behind the ball, Chera in the middle, Chera behind the ball, Kennedy. Things were moving, things were changing, but everything stayed the same. And what are you left to do? What are you left to do as a fan? I can yell and scream and tell you how much of a fucking disgrace it is, and it's not fucking good enough, and we're the Carlton Football Club, and what do we stand for? Or I can just tell you that it's shit, and it's unacceptable, and it's not good enough. Either way, it's the same message. I can sit here and yell and scream, or I can be a bit more poised and calm. I think I'm going to be a bit more poised and calm, because why should I let it drag into the rest of my life? Come here, film the review, and fuck off, go home. I am home. Yeah. Yeah, it's just difficult. It's just difficult to latch on to anything. There's a, they don't have a, they don't have a soul right now. There's no energy. There's no spark about them. They're lifeless. In some sense, they're a bit robotic. Something's been sucked out of them. There's a spirit that's not there. And the only thing I can think of for them is the players is that, I mean, it's gotten to them. It has to have. It's gotten to me. It's gotten to all of us as fans. How can it not get to them? They're invested in this journey as well. You know, they're actually on the field. They actually have control over what the result is because they play the game. We support the game. So it looks like it's getting to them. Their inability to stay in the moment and stay focused is showing. They look weighed down, especially our leaders. I mean, Wiedering right now and Cripps right now, like in this moment, they look they look devoid of confidence. Not confidence, but just spirit and life. It looks like it's been sucked out of them. And I always go to the leaders because they're the ones that I think you rely on. And yeah, I get it. Everyone's got to be a leader. Well, not everyone is named as captain or vice captain. So we're struggling. We're battling. We're battlers. And the question that came up on the fan cams last night was like, is this it? Is this the ceiling of the group? It can't be. It can't be. We've got a dysfunctional forward line. We've got a dysfunctional method to get it into the forward line. Either that or we just have dysfunctional players who can't handle the pressure of being a footballer at this level for this club. We've got Collingwood next week. Can't wait. Maybe the MCG is what we need. MCG's got a bit of soul. I'll be there, of course. Next Sunday I'll be there. But there's a real fear now about where the season has gotten to because we've lost 4 of our last 5. And that was the big part of last week, which was why I was confident this week because I thought no matter what, we won't dip into that real red zone of, red alert territory. We might have ups and downs. I don't know I don't know how far up we've gone this year, but I know we've started to really dip and we now find ourselves in like is it okay to be a bit more urgent at this point? Or is that asking for too much? Is the season over? I know a lot of us fans want to talk about it so we can have some level of certainty with what we think and feel, and that's okay. The reality is it's not over. Season's not over. This is a competition. And until it is mathematically impossible, it's not over. But it's looking very ominous right now. I don't know whether Vossi is cool, calm and collected under pressure or whether he has been infected with this positive spin from the club to give it to the fans or to give it to the mainstream. I'd like to think it's the former. I'd like to think he's under a lot of pressure and he's handling it and he's not succumbing to it. But I don't know. Ultimately, I don't know. I haven't lost all faith just yet, but I've also started to succumb to the fact that we're pretty average. We've been crying out for our best 22 for a while, but let's be honest, we're average. And I wonder how they'll talk about it this week as a club. I wonder what the message will be this week. I wonder what heartstrings will be pulled on this week. Family members, sick people. I wonder what it's going to be. It's just got to be about more about football, doesn't it? Has to be more about football. More of a focus on football. Maybe the boys actually need to just get away and just, I don't know, let loose. Yeah, I'm left scratching my head and searching for answers. But mentally and spiritually, yeah, it's not there. That's that. What was your experience during the game? I'm fascinated by this. What's your experience been this year, and what was your experience during the game last night? And how do you actually care about what happens moving forward? I'm curious to see where everyone's heads are at. One day people will watch this when we're all dead. And I hope you understand. I hope we did a good enough job of showing you how painful this era of the club was. And hopefully you're enjoying a better time than what I am right now. Go Blues.